yes, sure, some people pass it on to their children, but like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit. So
let me say it a different way.
Okay.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, there's a name for them. We call them poor.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report here. Thank you so very much for tuning in. That was Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy. Well, I have the guy in charge of my digital money, Guy Gotslak, joining me to discuss the Bitcoin future. Imagine if it goes to $1 million per coin and you don't own any. We'll talk about Ethereum, Solana, gold and silver as well. We appreciate your open mind. Now let's begin. Hey friends, welcome back. Thank you so very much for tuning in. It's Sean from sgtreport.com, thephaser.com, and thelibertymill.com. Thank you so very much for coming on back to the show. Guys, today we are going to talk about Bitcoin, gold, silver, and crypto because I got to tell you, the news is very clear. Crypto and Bitcoin are here to stay. And I think this asset class is going far higher. I'll explain why on this call with Guy Gotslak from My Digital Money. Guy, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
Well, it's good to see you. My goodness, my friend. So much news to share. And I want to start with FIT21. The bill has passed the House. The Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. This is just news item number one. Crypto is here to stay. What do you make of FIT21 bill being passed, Guy?
Yeah, it's a big win. It shows the tides are shifting in terms of in the government because you had 71 Democrats that voted in favor of this bill. We know Gary Gensler, essentially the arch nemesis of crypto, was very much against this bill, and I think Biden as well. And the fact that 71 of the 279 votes were Democratic was a big win. And what this bill does is essentially provides the clarity that the industry has been looking for and really establishes the CFTC as kind of the main regulatory agency. The SEC would still be involved for tokens that are considered securities. And that's one of the things that the bill tries to do is to provide what's called a decentralization test, which I don't know exactly what will be in the test yet, but it essentially will allow tokens to define themselves as either a security or a commodity. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's in that test, but I think it's clear that the SEC is kind of conceding now that Ethereum is a commodity. So I think a lot of other tokens that are what's called proof of stake could be seen as a commodity. So there's still some things to see within the bill, but we're making progress. It still has to pass the Senate. I don't know if it will this time around, but nevertheless, it shows that the political tides are shifting.
Well, it's become quite the political hot potato as well, because, as you just mentioned, Gary Gensler has been very anti-crypto and anti-Bitcoin. He did not want to approve the Bitcoin spot ETF, even though several years ago he approved the Bitcoin futures ETF, which is really a bankster instrument. That's not the instrument for the people. Anyway, Bitcoin got approved as a spot ETF. BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK Investments, they all have a piece of this thing. They're all now selling it to their clients. And more on that in just one second. But the political hot potato here is that Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler, they've all lost this war. The people want honest money. They do not want a central bank digital currency. And I don't care what y'all think about Bitcoin. It is not a central bank digital currency. So let me just play this clip of Donald Trump regarding crypto and Bitcoin.
Sure, the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right to self-custody to the nation's 50 million crypto holders. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency.
Okay.
I'm cheering to that one.
Well, it's very, very significant because here's the thing, guys. You know, I've been talking about Bitcoin since 2015. Actually, that's not true. I've been talking about Bitcoin since about 2012 or 13 with people like Da Vinci J, early adopters like Brother John F., and ranting Andy Hoffman, who, by the way, was right. And I owe an apology to Andy Hoffman. He was right. He was an early adopter. And if I hadn't been so bombastic and if I had taken time to read the white paper and research and understand Bitcoin, he and I could have had very many interesting conversations about the asset class. And maybe more of you would own some Bitcoin right now when you could have got in at 100 or 150. The point is this: Bitcoin is now an asset class that is highly sought by deep pocketed investors and individuals around the world. Case in point, 25 hedge funds now own Bitcoin, including Millennium Management, which owns over 27,000 Bitcoin. I'm sharing this with you guys not because I'm proselytizing about Bitcoin, but because I think it is part of a balanced portfolio, or shall I say, a diversified portfolio. And BlackRock, God, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm coming back to you, Guy. I cannot stand Larry Fink. He's a globalist. He does not care about humanity. They're buying up single family homes so that you'll own nothing and be happy and only rent for all of human history. But guess what? Maybe if you buy some Bitcoin and it does go to $500,000, you can buy a home despite Larry Fink. This is my point about crypto, and it's what I've been saying since 2015, Guy. It's part of a diversified portfolio. Dip your toe in the pool. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and Larry Fink is also grabbing all the Bitcoin that he can, right? And that's why I think it's important for you to own your own Bitcoin. And you know, the ETF is a valid vehicle, but I think it's, if you have the means to own it yourself, that's much better. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right in everything you said, and I agree with Donald Trump. The only thing that he got wrong is the number of Americans that hold Bitcoin. I have a research study right here from AAA payment provider. There's 72.2 million.
Is that right? Is it that
Yeah,
high? I thought 50
yeah.
million sounded high to me, because I got to tell you, aside from young people and some people in the space with whom I'm friendly, I don't really know any of my neighbors that own Bitcoin. Maybe they do and they're just not telling me. But I don't know too many people
Maybe.
with a Coinbase account or an MDM, my digital money account, that have
I bet
been
you
buying
people.
crypto.
I bet you people like Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler have Bitcoin, and they just are not telling you.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a report that came out from Wells Fargo and from JP Morgan that, they bought a certain amount of Bitcoin. They had to disclose that, their investments, and a bunch of other big banks too. So, it's more and more being adopted. And yeah, 72 million sounds kind of high, but I was surprised as well. And the same report shows 6.8% of the global population owns Bitcoin.
Well,
So
yeah. And the thing I wanted to share with folks, oh, and by the way, didn't mean to cut you off there.
no problem.
People where their currencies are now hyperinflating are turning to Bitcoin as a life preserver. So when things get really, really desperate, it doesn't matter how much you hate the asset class now. When things get desperate, you will turn to crypto to try to protect your purchasing power. The same reason we turn to silver and gold in physical form. And by the way, I just want to share this with the audience. The chatter I'm hearing amongst pundits I follow, smart folks, are talking about the fact that BlackRock, Fidelity, and the rest of these banksters want this asset class to explode because they are making money hand over fist, whereas the bond market money is drying up. So this is a whole new asset class, and I think it's a steam release valve for hyperinflation. I've been saying that for a long time, Guy. Also, I would agree with others who I've had on, like David Jensen, who say, well, it's a steam release valve to keep people from buying gold and silver. I think there's truth in both of those statements. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a steam release valve, as you call it. I've been saying that forever, because even with the inflation number that's being published, that's a very cherry picked, number. I mean, if you're looking at buying a house, or some of the other common items that people buy, the inflation rate on that is much higher, like 20% for real estate. So you got to have an asset like Bitcoin that has the type of gains that it has, right? Last year it was 150% gain, and so it's beat every other asset class. So you need something like that. I mean, I think gold and silver makes sense to have, but as I've said on your show many times, it's more for me like a preservation of wealth, right? Versus keeping up with inflation and building your wealth. And so, yeah, you want to buy a house, you want to be able to retire with the type of numbers that you need to retire with now, 2 million on average. I think Bitcoin is the way to do it. And Ethereum, right? Ethereum's catching up, and I've always said invest in Ethereum in the past year because I knew about this Ethereum ETF coming, which is another topic we can discuss. That's on its way, and so I think I always encourage people also to look at Ethereum.
Yeah. And so that was amongst my line items I want to discuss with you. A lot more big news has happened in just recent days, including the approval of an Ethereum ETF. Now, no one saw that coming this quickly. No one thought that would be approved this quickly because Gary Gensler was very antagonistic against Ethereum, calling it a security, and he would never provide clarity on Solana or any of the other cryptos, only Bitcoin, which the US government deems as property. But now they've approved an Ethereum ETF, which leaves many wondering, what's next? Will it be Solana? Those are the big three I own. And frankly, I sold a lot of my Ethereum for Solana when it was far, far cheaper. And Solana seems to be the big black hole that may eat Ethereum's lunch. But now Ethereum, with the ETF, there will be continuing demand for Ethereum. And where do you think we go from here? Do you see a Solana ETF? Because the thing is, how do you approve one, Ethereum, if it is considered a security, is or isn't, I don't care. But if they approved that ETF, what is to stop other ETFs from being filed, applied for, and approved? If you approve an Ethereum ETF, how can you not approve a Solana ETF? I wonder.
Yeah, well, you can't predict what the SEC is going to do with Gary Gensler at the helm of it, but it's important to note that the 19B4 filings for the Ether ETF were approved, but we still need the S1 filings to be approved, so before it could actually trade, right? And so that's supposed to happen in the next few weeks. The probability is very high that it will be approved, and then the trading will start, and that's when we can expect a surge. With the Bitcoin ETF, we had a 60% surge. We can expect something similar with Ethereum ETF. And what's to stop Solana? Well, I'm of the belief that will be next, but you could always argue that it's less centralized, right? And therefore it's a security. And that's what this whole bill that we were talking about earlier is going to help clarify, right? Is, what degree of decentralization do you need to have in order to be considered a commodity versus a security, right? And you could argue that Solana is more centralized, but in my opinion, it's still a commodity. And the big win out of this is that proof of stake, right? The switching Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake doesn't in itself make it a commodity. That's pretty much the implicit agreement by the SEC. The fact that they approved it is saying, okay, proof of stake does not make it itself a security, right? And that's the big win here, and that makes Solana more likely to be approved for an ETF.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, Solana's had 9x gains in the past year and a half, so it can only go more high. I say those three currencies are the main ones to look into and to own. We're going to the moon.
Yeah, it's funny. You called them currencies. And I think that's probably true, actually, when you think about the way they're preserving purchasing power all over the world. And by the way, Bitcoin continues to hit new all-time highs in currencies all over the world, including the Japanese yen. Now, that's a first world currency, guys. So I don't think this story is going away. And by the way, as it relates to demand through the ETFs and worldwide demand, listen to this over on CNBC. You're not going to believe what the demand is compared to the supply. And keep in mind that the Bitcoin halving just happened. So instead of 900 coins per day being produced by miners, there are only 450 coins per day being produced by miners globally.
But now we've come back to buying. Yeah. I mean, look, the verdict's in, right? Wall Street doesn't just like Bitcoin. They love Bitcoin. If you think of these assets, there's been over 5,500 ETF launches in history. Never have we had a fund get to $3 billion in AUM in the first 30 days. BlackRock and Fidelity both just did it. So two for the first time in history. And then if you look at Bitwise and 21 Shares, ARK, they're both going to hit $1 billion this year or this week. And so now you have 4 funds that are going to hit $1 billion of inflows. But the most interesting part of this is the inflows. I mean, these funds are doing $500 million a day of net inflows. but there's only 900 Bitcoin that is actually coming into the daily incoming supply. And so when you look at that, that's like $40 to $45 million. There's 12.5x more demand for Bitcoin than what's being produced on a daily basis.
So how much? Okay, I'm going to pause it there. Now, here's what's important about that clip. That was from February 12th. That's Anthony Popliano. And now Bitcoin is $20,000 per coin higher. Guy, I'm coming back to you. Guys, that clip was very important, but keep in mind, that clip featuring Anthony Popliano was from February 12th. And instead of 900 coins per day being produced globally, there's only 450. So, Guy, I don't know how they're capping Bitcoin right now. It's been 4 weeks between 67,000 and 70,000. I think we're going to see 100,000 by the end of the year. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think I just read a research report by a broker named Bernstein that the Bitcoin and Ether ETFs are expected to grow to 450 billion in market cap based on crypto price forecasts. So that means 100 billion inflows over the next 18 to 24 months, which will definitely outpace the supply. And so, yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, there's that same study predicts Bitcoin at 150,000 in 2025, which I think is pretty conservative. I've seen other forecasts that, take it to 250 by 2025. But yeah, definitely 100. I think sometime in the third quarter is likely. But don't have a crystal ball, but that's the way it's looking right now.
There's some very, very smart people like Samson Mao and others that are predicting a $1 million Bitcoin price by 2025 or in the year 2025. Look, again, I'm not proselytizing, guys, but what are you going to buy at this point? Where are you going to put your money? NVIDIA stock? Apple stock? Amazon stock? I mean, where are you going to put your money? Silver and gold certainly serve the people, but gold has underperformed for the past decade and a half. It's doing pretty well now, though, and I'm glad I own some. Same with physical silver. I will always make the argument that physical silver is the most undervalued tangible asset on planet Earth, and I own a bunch of it. But I also own a little bit of Bitcoin and some other crypto as a hedge. We know they're debasing the dollar to the tune of $1 trillion of new debt every 100 days. So we know where this goes, guys. We know where the story ends. The question is, do you want to dip a foot in the pool and have some exposure to this asset class so that if and when it goes far, far higher, you can use it to buy more gold and silver or a house? Just saying. By the way, dramatic news yesterday. Semler Scientific, ticker SMLR, full disclosure, I bought some for my IRA. They just announced that they're going to mirror the MicroStrategy Michael Saylor Bitcoin strategy, which is to use their treasury dollars, their capital, to invest in Bitcoin. And they announced that they have 581 Bitcoin valued at $40 million. Now, keep in mind, this is a $200 million market cap company, $215 million market cap company, a small company with 581 Bitcoin valued at 40 million. That's about 1/5 of the value of the entire company in Bitcoin. Imagine if the Bitcoin price doubles or triples or quadruples from here. More and more companies, guys, this is called game theory. Game theory is now playing out as Michael Saylor predicted, Guy.
Yeah, and to add to that, there's a publicly traded company, Japanese company called Metaplanet. They just bought 250 million yen worth of Bitcoin. And that, just added to their portfolio. They already had a pretty big Bitcoin portfolio. So seems like, yeah, more and more companies are mirroring the MicroStrategy strategy of basically keeping their reserves in Bitcoin. And by the way, you know who the biggest shareholder in MicroStrategy is? It's BlackRock and one of the other big ones. I forget which one it was. Vanguard.
Of course, around every corner, under every rock is BlackRock and Vanguard. And guys, look, I'm not that naive. I do fully understand that if these big banksters continue to buy all of the Bitcoin, it could perhaps become manipulatable. Okay, for sure. I think that's possible. However, it's also possible that they're using Bitcoin as a hedge against the hyperinflation of the dollar that's coming, to shore up their reserves for whatever comes next. I mean, I can absolutely, Guy, in my mind's eye, I can see a $1 million Bitcoin price very easily especially when the dollar actually begins to hyperinflate?
I definitely see it. And, I think that even if it gets to 500, I mean, it's you got to diversify, right? You got to protect yourself. I don't want the dollar to weaken, right? I want a strong dollar. But I think, having another asset to protect myself is great to, and I think having competition against the dollar is also good for the dollar, right? Because it might motivate people in power to manipulate it less, right? Or to kind of rein in their mismanagement of it. So yeah, I think it's good to diversify.
Yeah, let me show folks one more thing here. So the Pompliano clip was from February. So we'll just jump to April 6th. Now we're sitting here pushing towards June. But back on April 6th, the supply shortage was so massive that there were 15,000 plus Bitcoin bought in 24-hour period, 24,000 Bitcoin over the last week, 61,000 over the last month, and 568,000 Bitcoin over the last year. Now, keep in mind, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. And by estimates, some 5, 6, 7 million have been lost. People lose their keys, didn't understand it, sent it to the wrong address. Those Bitcoin are gone forever. So again, guys, I'm just trying to help educate. I'm not proselytizing. So I do want people to at least think about it. And Guy can tell you about My Digital Money, how it works, why you might want to consider it, and whether or not to buy Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, cryptos, gold, silver, whatever, through an IRA or just through a straight up brokerage account. Guy, can you comment on that?
Yeah, and we have all those things that you mentioned, right? We have Solana, and we have also fractional gold and silver, and Ethereum and Bitcoin and others. And you can do it with an IRA or a standard account. But the best thing is the security, right? We put it in cold storage, so it's away from any, the internet and hacks. And if you're looking to invest long term, you definitely want to make sure you're securing that nest egg. We keep it segregated from our business operations, so it's not commingled. So if you're going to do this, folks, do it in the safest way possible. And our platform, I'm not biased at all, is a great option, and we actually have U.S. based people. So if you're hesitating or you need to learn more about it before you pull the trigger, we will have knowledgeable people ready to speak to you on the phone. So yeah, go to mydigitalmoney.com. And by the way, I forgot, Sean, to mention that the Bitcoin hash rate is at its all-time high. Many would say that Bitcoin price, follows hash rate. So that is also a very nice signal, an indicator to look at.
Yeah. And just so folks understand, again, I'm not really an expert on Bitcoin, but I probably put in more time, energy, and effort to learn about Bitcoin than most folks listening. And it's really important to understand that it's not hackable because the miners secure the network and the miners are decentralized all over the world. When China tried to shut down Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin continued to flourish because the other miners around the world picked up the slack. And now we're back to an all-time high with the hash rate, which means the Bitcoin network has never been more secure. So I want to play one last soundbite just so people understand where this MIT genius, Michael Saylor, is coming from regarding property, inflation, and Bitcoin.
My house in Miami Beach was $100,000 in 1930. It was appraised at $46 million a few years ago. Do the calculation. It's on a path to be worth $100 million, which means that the US dollar will have lost 99.9% of its value over 100 years. Warren Buffett knows this. Charlie Munger knows this. Basically, the bottom line there is your money in the bank isn't money. Okay, so the answer is you shouldn't have any money in the bank, right? You're basically losing 7% of all your wealth every year in a good year. If it's the dollar, you're losing 15% of your wealth. My house.
Bums me out that clip got cut off. I should have found a better clip. That's why he put his company's treasury, his money, his working capital, any extra cash they had, even the coins they found under seat cushions, into Bitcoin, because he knew his company would be out of business in 5 to 10 years because of the rate of inflation and the slow growth of most companies. The only companies growing faster maybe than the rate of inflation are the big tech companies like Nvidia. Apple, by the way, is losing its edge. I don't think Apple's growing nearly as fast as it was for the past 20 years. But that's the point he makes. Bitcoin is property. And Michael Saylor always likes to say, buying Bitcoin today is akin to buying one city block in New York City and Manhattan in the early 1900s. And it is viewed by the US government as property. Guy, final word from you. And by the way, it costs nothing to sign up for MDM, right?
Yeah, go to mydigitalmoney.com. You can open a Play Money account and just get comfortable with it. And once you are, you can fund it with any amount. An IRA is a great way to save on taxes. And we're here to answer your call as well. I think everything you said, Sean's spot on. I think there's so many bullish indicators that show that Bitcoin is going to the moon. And if you're ready to invest for the long run, we're here to help. And I think it's a great way to build wealth and protect yourself from what's happening here in our financial system. So yeah, thanks again for having me, Sean.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And I think we're going to have a lot to talk about between now and the end of the year. And if I'm proven wrong and Bitcoin goes to zero, well, never put all of your money in any asset class, just like you wouldn't put all of your money in gold. Always be diversified. And this is not a call to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence before making any investment decision, and speak with a licensed money manager, probably before making any big decisions. But again, the folks at MDM can hold your hand through this process if you want to dip a foot in the pool. I'll leave a link below. Thanks for your time today, Guy.
Thank you.
Friends, thanks so much for tuning in. As always, I'll remind you to get the real news every single day for free. Check us out at sgtreport.com. That is the antidote to corporate propaganda and all of those Federal Reserve, Mockingbird, mainstream media fiat lies. God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.
A lot of people mistakenly believe that a default process and event would be, well, let's just say like a 4-day event. I think it's going to be a 4-year event. And I believe we might be in the second or third year of that 4-year event. Are we really going to have a debt default for the US government, or can we print our way out of it? The answer is we can print with gigantic consequences.
Yeah.